With 20 games remaining in the regular season and coming off a disappointing 3-7 swing to the West Coast, tonight the Rays open their biggest series of the year. They'll play host to the Boston Red Sox. The standings break out. Boston leading the East over the Rays by 7.5. And in the wild card, the Rays holding down the number 2 wild card spot, a game and a half up on both Baltimore and Cleveland. Hi again, everyone, and welcome to an evening of Rays baseball. Dwayne Stats with Brian Anderson. Todd Callis along in just a moment. Good to have you along with us as well tonight. Well, after that tough trip to the West Coast, BA, David Price gets the starting assignment. He's the ace, the Cy Young Award winner, going up against Boston.
And this is exactly the guy that you want in a game like this, coming back home after that exhausting 10-day trip. And he's going to be going up against a team that his last couple of times out at the end of July, he had a ton of success against. Look at the numbers right there. The last 2 starts, he won both of them. Pitched 16 in the 3rd inning in those 2 starts, gave up just 7 hits, 2 earned runs, threw the ball very well, and you can expect him to go out against this lineup, and obviously a much different lineup. They're coming off of a streak of swinging the bats very, very well, but he's going to go out there and attack them just like he did in those 2 starts and hope it turns out well, and he'll be going up against this guy right here, Clay Buchholz, making his first start since June.
And when he pitched against the Rays back in April, he was lights out. 9-0 through his first 12 starts, just off the disabled list. We'll see how that bodes for the Boston right-hander. The Rays and the Red Sox starting tonight, the first of 3 games for the Rays. An outside shot at the division. They're thinking of maintaining their spot in that wild card race. When Todd Callis returns, he'll break out the wild card race and all the possible contingencies.
case for the Tampa Bay Rays 20 games ago. Remember last year when the Rays were trying to chase down both Baltimore and Oakland at the time, although the A's would win the AL West? The Rays had that fantastic finish to the season, but they couldn't catch the A's and the O's because they played so well. Well, now Tampa Bay's on the other side and trying to do the same to teams like Baltimore and Kansas City and Cleveland and New York. Here's what's in store for the final 20 games. It all begins tonight with a first of 3 against the Boston Red Sox. Remember, just 2 weeks and 2 days ago, the Rays were percentage points ahead of the Red Sox. Now they're 7.5 back. Then they go to Minnesota for 3. Back home for their final 8-game homestand of the year, 4 with the Rangers, who could end up in the wild card picture, depending on how they play against Pittsburgh and also Oakland the next 5 games. Then Baltimore, then off to New York and Toronto to wrap things up. We caught up with Desmond Jennings and Matt Joyce and asked them about how much fun it is this time of year.
Yeah, man, it's coming down to the end, which seems like it does every year. It's going to be a good series. We feel like we still got a chance in this AL East race. Things got to happen. We got to win some games, but I mean, got to go out and play.
I think everybody's eager and really excited to get back at it at home, and it's a big series for us. So, like I said, we're pumped about it.
Matt Joyce's number, the number 20. That's how many games are left in the season. It all starts in 3 minutes and 16 seconds with Clay Buchholz in his first start in over 3 months against the Rays. David Price with a lot of success against these Red Sox. Enjoy all the action right around the corner.
Coast road trip, the Rays are glad to be back home. And with just 20 games remaining in the regular season, there's a sense of urgency with every game becoming the most important one. Tonight, Tampa Bay's ace David Price goes to the hill in the opener of a pivotal 3-game set versus the AL East leading Red Sox. David Price heads to the mound for the Rays, making his 23rd start. Not a bigger one this year for David Price than this one tonight. Coming off 2 losses on the last road trip, a couple of starts in which he gave the Rays 7 innings, and that's been at a premium lately from their starters to get somebody to go 7. And we'll take a look at the Boston lineup put together by John Farrell. Dustin Pedroia will lead it off, followed by Shane Victorino, And then the DH is David Ortiz. Mike Napoli at first, hitting cleanup. Johnny Gomes in left with Daniel Nava hitting sixth in right field. Jared Saltalamacchia, the catcher. Will Middlebrooks at third base hitting eighth. Stephen Drew, the shortstop, hits ninth.
Now the aforementioned David Price taking the mound for the Tampa Bay Rays. His season numbers brought to you by Coventry Healthcare of Florida. And you can expect David Price to stick with the script. He had 2 starts against this Boston lineup back at the end of July. And cumulatively a 2-0 record, just gave up 7 hits in 16 1/3 innings of work. So you can expect that he's going to go out and attack this lineup exactly the same way. Let's take a look at the defense as it lines up behind David. In the outfield, left to right, Joyce, Jennings, and DeJesus. Across the infield, third to first, Longoria, Escobar, Zobrist, and Loney. Jose Molina will be behind the plate.
And Dustin Pedroia walks to the plate, hitting out of the leadoff spot for the very first time this year, with Jacoby Ellsbury on the sideline with the fractured foot. John Farrell has Pedroia in the cleanup spot, or Pedroia in the leadoff spot, and normally his cleanup hitter, David Ortiz, up in the third spot. It'll be the first time this year Ortiz has hit third. So here's Pedroia, and David Price set to go to work against the Boston second baseman. Pedroia hitting .297, and the first pitch of this game, presented by Pinch a Penny, is a fastball on the outside corner. Strike one. Nothing in 2. Big swing by Pedroia.
Well, Dwayne, when you talk about Pedroia being in the leadoff spot for the first time, David Ortiz moving a stop down, when you look at this Boston lineup and what they've done lately, you can't hit everybody clean up. And that's just about what it has come down to.
Sure has. They had that 54-run 4-game stretch. The Rays, in contrast, scored 54 runs in 18 games. An 0-2 count on Pedroia. And Pedroia goes to work, fouling it off.
Well, and their co-player of the week, Will Middlebrooks, who did nothing more than hit .464 with 4 home runs and 9 RBIs to earn that honor, share with Mike Napoli. He's hitting 8th in this lineup.
Yep.
And you got the right elixir on the mound tonight with David Price, the way that he's thrown against him the last couple of times.
Swing and a miss. Pedroia out on strikes, the fastball at 94.
Well, and that's what you hope to see from David Price a little bit more tonight than you did in his last outing. Primarily stayed away, and that's what allowed the Angels to have some success off him. Later in the game, he started to come in, and he really was able to calm that game down. But when he pitches glove side in, you see that ball in the inner third, able to beat Pedroia with it. He is very tough to deal with because he does have the good velocity, and when he's using both sides of the plate, it makes for an uncomfortable at bat.
Shane Victorino. And a first pitch strike. Nothing but strikes so far from David Price. It's been pretty much the case since he returned from the disabled list. 1 ball, 1 strike. This is his 14th start post the DL. Ortiz, the on-deck man. Foul ball. Advances the count to 1-2.
And those starts since David came off the DL, the overall number is very good. But if you look at the breakout, the first 8 starts of that span, he was 5-1 with a 1.40. The last 5 coming back down to earth just a little bit, 2-2 with a 4.78. And you see what you've seen is a lot of teams realizing, Dwayne, all those strikes, a lot of swinging early.
On a cut to miss, Victorino strikes out. fastball again at 94 gets him swinging.
Well, and that one had elevation to it. Not exactly where David wanted it, but when you have plus stuff, sometimes you can get away with that. And that's what he did. He wants the ball in, and this ball ends up middle away and up. But still, the stuff beats it.
Two up, two down. Now David Ortiz, the fifth leading hitter in the American League at .312, seventh in runs batted in, 90 runs batted in with the Boston Slugger, and there's another first pitch strike. Rays shift Longoria to the right side of second base now with a 1-strike count. Inside, hard again, and it's 1-1. John Farrell has taken this Boston club from their disaster season a year ago, and they're in control in the East. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Good break to that one. Red Sox a year ago finished 69-93 and had a lot of people predicting them to finish 5th this year. And they've turned it upside down in the East. Count still 1-2 to Ortiz.
Yeah, it has been stark, the turnaround, and what this team has been able to do coming off the disaster of last year. And that was coming off of the disappointing meltdown of the year before, where the Rays were able to get into the playoffs, game 162 that everybody remembers so well. Amazing job by that man right there and his staff.
He just missed with the fastball away. 2-2.
Well, David going for that outside corner, but you know what? This is a good miss. You're going to go for it. You go for the corner or miss just off. It's not a bad idea there by David. And just, again, like the fact that he's moving that fastball around early and really setting the tempo with the heat.
Hopper foul back a third. That's headed out of play.
Yeah, I think that when we've seen David Price throw his best games, this is how he comes out. He comes out with a chip on his shoulder, and he's going to rear back and let you see the fastball early and often, in and out. Then he'll go to pitching as the game moves on. You start to see some of the off speed. But boy, he sets the tone early like this. He's usually very good.
He's 2-2 with Ortiz. Too long for Ortiz, who steps back. Foul again on a pitch in.
Now David trying that front door cutter, seeing that if the other David, Ortiz, would give up on it. Took a pretty nice crack at it, fouled it off.
Price gave the Rays 7 against the Angels his last time out on the 5th, giving up 6 runs, 11 hits. Almost all of that early in that game. 2-2. And the battle continues between Price and Ortiz with a foul ball out of play. Runs the pitch count to 8 in this at bat.
Well, that's a nice job by Ortiz to be able to cover in and out successive pitches. Good plate coverage to stay in this at bat.
Ortiz works the count full. So a very impressive at bat by David Ortiz.
Well, think about the last 3 pitches. front door cutter, fouls it off. Fastball mid-90s away, fouls it off, and then takes a changeup middle of the plate down.
And a step back again.
Did you see all the signs that Jose Molina was running through? I'm trying to go along with him, and I'm like, I think we're running out of pitches here. David doesn't have any more numbers than that.
3-2. Liner into right. DeJesus there to make the catch. 1-2-3. Go the Red Sox in the first. Rays are coming in to hit. No score. Opening the three-game series with David DeJesus in right field in the leadoff position. Ben Zobrist hits second, plays second. The third place hitter, third baseman Evan Longoria. Matt Joyce cleanup. James Loney hits fifth. Luke Scott will get the start as the DH. Desmond Jennings in center. Jose Molina will catch, and Yunel Escobar back in the lineup at shortstop.
Well, look who it is making his return to the Boston starting rotation. It's right-hander Clay Buchholz. His season numbers brought to you by Coventry Healthcare of Florida. His last start was June the 8th. Neck issue. And he has made 3 rehab starts, is declared ready to go, and comes back here looking to add a win to that win total.
Here's David DeJesus, who has faced Buchholz before. He's 3 out of 9 against him with 3 walks drawn, so he's in the leadoff spot based on his ability, number one, to get on base in general, and that has especially been the case against Buchholz. That's saying something against this guy. Up and away when he is healthy, and the Rays saw him back in the middle of April when he was very good. He held him hitless for 7 innings.
Well, he won 12 starts on the season, and he's given up 2 earned runs or fewer in 11 of the 12. He was on quite the roll, as you saw with those numbers.
He's in with a strike. It's 2-1. That's the line on Buchholz at Fenway on the 14th of April. Look at that. Nothing for the Rays until the 8th in the hit department. 2-2. Desmond Jennings and Kelly Johnson got a couple of hits off Buchholz that day. Kelly Johnson had a broken bat base hit to open the 8th, and later in the inning Johnson had been part of a double play, and then with 2 outs and the bases empty, Desmond Jennings hit one off the wall in left at Fenway. He worked 8 innings, Buchholz did, gave up just those 2 hits and no runs. Full count now to DeJesus.
And if you can think back and remember about that game, the one thing that Buchholz had working very well was that cutter. You see a lot of the left-handers in here tried to neutralize that pitch, but it was so good down and away to the right-handers. Tries to keep it in on the lefties.
3-2, lifted towards center. Victorino on his way back there, and he makes the catch. 1 away.
Well, let's take a look at the Boston Red Sox defense as it lines up behind Clay in the outfield left to right. Johnny Gomes, Shane Victorino, and Daniel Nava across the infield third to first. Will Middlebrooks, Stephen Drew, Dustin Pedroia, and Mike Napoli. Jared Saltalamacchia will be behind the plate.
There's Ben Zobrist. Ben has had a difficult time against Buchholz. Hitting .278 overall. He's been so good all year, but especially since the All-Star break. But lifetime against Buchholz, he's just 4 for 34. 6 walks, however.
So he's got that going for him.
Yep. And Joe Madden puts a premium on that when he looks at matchups. 2-0 the count.
Well, that's why you'll never see really Ben Zobrist come out of the lineup every now and then. But Joe loves the fact that even when he's not hitting, still more than willing to take his walks. His on-base percentage is pretty consistent.
Oh, there's a strike. Ben thought that might have been out of the zone. There's Evan Longoria waiting to hit next.
Well, we have Angel Hernandez behind the plate tonight. Lead this series off, and this is a borderline pitch. Wow. Goes Buchholz's way.
And strike 2.
That was a better pitch. That was that cutter that he likes to throw to the lefties, away to the righties. Little cut at 88.
You'd see Hernandez delay just a moment and then come up with that right arm. Ground ball that deflects off the glove of Buchholz. The pickup by Pedroia on the recovery, and they get Zobrist. That time Buchholz got a glove on it and deflected it in the right direction from the Red Sox point of view.
Yeah, you were only hoping that he had slowed it down a little bit too much. And he knocks that down towards Pedroia, but Pedroia's got to cover some ground bare hand and make a nice play to be able to record the out. Boy, good pitch. Nice job by Ben to put it in play. Better job by Pedroia to finish it off.
Evan Longoria up here against Buchholz. Ball, no strikes. Strike. The other thing about Buchholz, you know, last year he gave up 25 home runs, and in his first 12 starts this year, only 2
in over 84 innings. That's an astounding number. And by the way, you know, left field at Fenway Park.
The breaking ball in for a strike.
You could get some over the Green Monster on accident. Well, when the Rays saw him, he was so precise, and you can imagine that that's the way he's been based on those numbers, that 171 earned run average.
2-2. You mentioned, BA, that Buchholz is a normal course of action, had appeared in some rehab assignments. He did throw a bullpen session on Sunday and came away from that encouraged by his curveball, and we saw a good one for strike 2 to Longoria. He's out on strikes. So Longoria out in front of the off speed. We go to the second inning, no score. Key matchup. You're looking at the duo, the American League co-players of the week, Mike Napoli and Will Middlebrooks. Napoli twice has shared that honor with a teammate earlier in the year. It was the pitcher Andrew Bailey, and now Will Middlebrooks.
Who's the guy on the left?
I know, he's in disguise without the beard. Just wait till you see him live in the batter's box. There he is.
Well, I mean, who has the most impressive beard on this Boston team? I mean, that is some serious, consistent growth right there.
They have Napoli and Gomes back-to-back in their lineup.
David Ross. You see Carp right there. Pedroia, he keeps his a little closer.
First pitch from David Price. Strike one to Napoli.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the Civil War general look right there. A little gray right in the middle. Two strikes now, the count to Napoli.
Well, Mike Napoli, he wants to get those arms extended. David Price knows that, tries to keep it in. Look at, they're going to go up. I mean, Napoli can occasionally get to that pitch up in the zone, but when you put the plus velocity on it, he wants that ball down and out over the plate where he can get really good extension. And when he does, boy, very powerful man. Right field, right center.
Takes a cut and fouls the fastball back. Napoli has had a great year hitting in the middle of the Boston lineup.
And you remember he had signed that deal or agreed to a deal with Boston, multi-year deal. All of a sudden some physical issues come up a little bit and then was forced to kind of hang in the balance for a while before finally agreeing to a one-year deal. And like you said, Dwayne, he is doing a great job.
2-2.
I think that helps too with moving him to first base.
A lot less wear and tear than behind the plate, that's for sure. He took that last pitch, a cutter a little wide. 2-2. Lined into right. DeJesus makes the catch. David charging that line drive and grabbing it one away. And here's the bearded Johnny Gomes. Well, Gomes brings with him a presence wherever he plays. Certainly had that here with the Rays. He had it in Oakland. Well, that's a big part of the turnaround for Boston.
Yeah. I mean, you bring that grit. I think that's something that every team needs. Is they need a guy like Johnny Gomes. I mean, he's a tough guy, gritty guy.
Takes a strike. And here's the thing with Gomes. He's only hitting .239, but he's got pop.
Yep.
He's hit 12 home runs. You know, he's always going to have a good slugging percentage. And you can put him in any position in that lineup in a game situation, and he's fearless in the batter's box. Ground ball to short. Escobar throws him out. He just has a good time and fears no man.
No. He sets the tone. He sets a great example. And you're absolutely right. The numbers forget, and he's gonna do a good job as handle left-handed pitching, which is why not only do you see him in the lineup tonight, but you see him hitting fifth.
Now Daniel Nava. 2 outs, so the base is empty. Price has retired the first 5 he has faced. There's a strike on the outside edge. David has opened this game throwing strikes and getting ahead of these Red Sox hitters. By Nava. 0-2.
That was a good pitch to hit. One of the few that David has missed out over the plate, but Daniel Nava way too big with the swing.
Nava, since the beginning of August, has hit over 360. But 1 of 18 in his career against David Price. One ball, 2 strikes. Headed out of play. Boston coming in with a record of 87 and 58. The Rays 78 and 64. Price ahead of Nava. Record for the Red Sox, the second highest winning percentage in baseball, eclipsed only by the Atlanta Braves. The Braves are 86 and 57. That's a 601, and the Red Sox are an even 600 at 87 and 58.
You know, I think the Rays too still have visions of going out to try and win the division. And for realistically, for that to happen, you almost have to sweep this team.
Yep.
And if you were able to do that, you'd be just 2 games back in the loss column. I know it's 7.5 right now. That's a big number, but just 5 back in the loss column. So it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. But they have got to show up in this mini homestand against the Red Sox, much more so than they did on the West Coast.
Yeah, that would leave them 17 games to play.
Yeah,
trying to make up that difference, needing some help to get the job done. But boy, it would be a big step in the right direction. Really make it interesting and fun if they could pull that off. It's 2-2 to Nava. The one thing this Boston lineup will do is force you to make some pitches, and David has been very economical with his pitch count. He's averaging 14.3 pitches per inning on the year.
Yeah.
And less than that since back off the DL. He's in the 13s. But the Red Sox have the best on base percentage. They've drawn more walks than anybody, and they run a lot of deep counts.
They've seen more pitches than anybody in the game of baseball by over 1,000. 1,000 more pitches than anybody else.
Ooh, pretty close right there, but it's ball 3 and a full count.
And by the way, Dwayne, actually looking at my notes here, it's 6 games back in the loss column. So they could get within 3, but still 3 with 17 to go. I mean, that's a lot to ask, and that's a long way off. We're just in the 2nd inning of game 1.
Hey, you got to have a game plan.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you have to have contingencies. Yeah, we could have all the game plans and contingencies we want here. Shot to center field. On the run, Jennings got it. Desmond on the warning track, hauls it in. Fine running catch by Jennings, retiring Boston in the 2nd inning. 1, 2, 3, go the Red Sox. Good defensive work here by Jennings.
And was asked about this stretch run. He said it's not only important for the team to stay in the moment, but also to enjoy the moment. He then went on to send out this tweet. I just want to focus on tonight's game, Price versus Buchholz. Once you start looking at the larger, clumpy things, it can get away with you. Something we saw a lot of guys uncharacteristically on that West Coast swing.
All right, Kelly, thank you. And that's why we can have all the game plans we want up here. But for Madden, it's all about process in the moment.
Yeah, and I know that for a fact that from just personal experience that any time it involves clumpy things, it has already gotten away from you.
Yeah, not good.
Nope.
Matt Joyce in the cleanup spot for the Rays. 2-0 the count. Loney to follow, and then Scott. And a strike. 2-1. James Loney on deck. Pulls this one to the right side, and they throw to first. To Napoli gets him.
Well, if you want an example of why the shift is employed against Matt Joyce, just take a look at the last swing. You want to talk about trying to go out and get a pitch that's well off the plate and pull it. Watch this swing by Matt. I mean, out and around and hooking that baseball. That's exactly why the defense looks like it does.
Yeah, technically that goes 5-3. That's one of the few times that he'll go out third to first if you put the third baseman way over toward the hole on the right side of the infield.
Yeah, you look at the box score and you're like, oh, look at that. He hit the ball the other way right to the third. No.
Middlebrooks threw him out about maybe 30 feet from the bag. Base hit the other way for Loney. He gets it over Middlebrooks' head. A leaping attempt. So Loney, who had a very good road trip, has himself a base hit. First time up, first pitch tonight.
I mean, ho-hum. James Loney, a pitch away. Just line it the other way once again. Right here, get back, nice load, and then just let that ball get into the zone. How many times have we seen him do that?
Well, he's coming off a 3-hit game in that last game at Seattle. Well, he's starting on another one, a base hit, first time up tonight. And here is Luke Scott in the lineup as the DH. Over to first, and Loney is back in. Joe Maddon said his lineup tonight came down to Scott or Will Myers. And he decided to go with Luke Scott, who has a couple of home runs against Buchholz, as you saw. Upstairs, 1-0.
And you know, I mean, to date, this is the Rays' biggest game of the year. And you've got your mega prospect, Will Myers, on the bench. You know he is, no matter what he may or may not say, he is eating up inside right now, wanting to be on that field.
Well, a couple of things from different directions there. You know, Maddon just a couple of days ago praised him, looked at his numbers, and said, hey, he's the only guy right now we have capable of putting up those kind of impressive numbers.
Right.
The team was struggling to score runs and get hits. The other side of this, though, against Buchholz, you know, with that cutter away, his breaking stuff away, I don't know if that went into the thinking or not. A lot of these decisions are not top secret, close to the best in terms of putting a lineup together. But look at the splits. He's tough against lefties, though.
Yeah. I mean, and that you come down with that cutter that he likes to run in on the hands, a good changeup away, the curveball. I mean, everything has been plus for him. But you got to remember, too, that his impressive numbers and those splits that we just saw, that's all from April to June. There's been a long layoff, 3 rehab starts. You know, first of all, how long is he going to be able to go? I think his longest rehab start was 3 2/3.
Yeah.
And how sharp will he be overall?
John Farrell was hoping 75 to 80 pitches tonight.
Then you're going to get into that bullpen. First game of a series, 75-80. And it's not a lot. You're hoping that that's 5 innings worth.
A clean cut. Luke Scott ahead in the count, 2-1. And there's ball 3. Desmond Jennings in the on-deck circle. Strike. And we're seeing Angel Hernandez, the tendency to give that pitch away and up a little bit.
Here it is, a cutter meant to be in. It stays up and away.
And the count is full.
Yes, it is. That ball right at the letters.
Loney aboard. Shift on for Scott. And a cut and a miss. Fastball, and Scott swings through it.
When you can see the frustration with Luke Scott, still angry right there at the previous pitch. And then Buchholz was able to get him here with 93. Nothing fancy about that, just a power fastball.
Two outs with Loney at first. There's Jennings. Down to third, past Middlebrooks. Drew comes up with it. It's going to be a base hit. Loney safely in at second. Jennings with an infield hit.
Yeah, once you get it by Middlebrooks and you force Stephen Drew to head to his right, no way with the speed of Desmond Jennings. This is your only shot right here. Once that gets by him, you see how Drew is moving towards it. No way you're throwing back across your body, even if he comes up with that clean, and get that guy right there.
Well, let's see what Jose Molina can do in here catching David Price tonight, but he also has some pretty good numbers against Buchholz, 7 out of 20, and he's collected his share of hits recently. He's 15 of his last 32. It's going to be a strike on the corner, says Hernandez. Two men on with 2 men out. Colts missed with the fastball. For the wide that time. Two and one. Rays at bat here. Molina ahead, 3 balls and a strike. Buchholz up to 32 pitches. Fouled into the screen.
And if John Farrell sticks to that 75 to 80, Rays trying to push him out around that 4 or 5 inning mark and force the Boston bullpen to pitch half the ball game. Got to figure with David Price going, and for the Rays, you got to like your chances. You see that breakout right there. Not quite what Clay would have in mind.
A full count. 2 outs and the runners will be off. There they go. And it's a foul ball, forcing another pitch to be made. Rays putting up the first threat of the game with 2 outs. Moving Loney into scoring position on the infield hit by Jennings. Molina has worked a full count. And he's out on strikes, missing the fastball, leaving 2 men aboard. We head into the 3rd inning, no score from the Trop.
.11-4 record in September, the best winning percentage of any month in his career. He talks about the importance of getting focused for the final 20.
Just keep going. You know, we still got enough baseball left. You know, we're still in a position to be able to make the postseason. And we still control our own destiny. And you know, that's a big thing for our team right now in September. So for us to have put ourselves in the position that we're in right now, you know, is very big.
That was Price in Seattle's clubhouse. He's actually never pitched in Seattle, which is remarkable. There you see the wild card picture, guys. Baltimore and Cleveland in action tonight. 1.5 games behind the Rays. New York and Kansas City 3 and 4 respectively. Should be a lot of fun. Most guys in the clubhouse saying how fortunate they feel to control their own destiny despite not playing well lately, guys.
Yeah, the Rays have gone 4-11 since the 25th of August and still in a position where if they take care of business, the wild card is an absolute possibility. In fact, a probability if they play well. Strike one to Saltalamacchia. And as we so aptly broke out a couple of innings ago, what it would take to win the division. Not impossible, but you'd have to put together some pretty good runs and get a little help. Pop foul by Saltalamacchia. That's out of play. It's 1-2.
Well, and you know, the stretch run, obviously, for the Rays is tough. They finish this series, go to Minnesota, then come back, and 4 with Texas, 4 with Baltimore. But Boston's the same way. They've got the Rays here, then they go home for a 10-game homestand. They've got the Yankees and Baltimore on that. So a lot of tough baseball to be played here by both of these teams.
I'll tell you, the team, and we talked about them a few months ago, a month or so ago, the Indians, they've positioned themselves a game and a half back to have a spot, an opportunity, because they have the most favorable schedule of anybody. You got to go out and do it.
Yeah, you got to go out and do it. And anytime you can wrap up the season in your last couple of weeks with a home against Cuyahoga Community College, you got to like your chances. And that's about what the Indians have.
It's really amazing. Count still 2-2 to Saltalamacchia. They're home against Kansas City tonight, and the Indians have a 1-0 lead there. Indians have 19 games left. A couple with the Royals counting tonight, but then they go to Chicago, play the White Sox, play Kansas City again. 4 at home against the Astros, 4 at home against the White Sox, and then 4 against the Twins. Full count to Saltalamacchia. They are without Justin Masterson, their big right-hander with a strained oblique, and he's going to travel with the team on their trip to Chicago and into Kansas City. 3-2. Saltalamacchia hops it back, foul. Molina will watch it fall out of play. Take Saltalamacchia with another 3-2 pitch, leading off here in the third. And strike 3 is called. Saltalamacchia caught looking on the fastball. Well, just from Ed Mustache and Beard play like a champ. Here's a breakout on some of these contenders. We mentioned the Indians already, but look at Texas. Got a couple left with Pittsburgh. But when you look at the Orioles and the Yankees, that Cleveland schedule is the best of the lot in terms of weak schedules. Strike 1 to Will Middlebrooks. But you got to go out and win.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and listen, those teams would like nothing more than to keep the Indians out of the playoff race. And so, you know, even though a lot of those teams, their season is already over, there's still a lot to play for. That's to spoil somebody else's season. And, oh, by the way, maybe a lot of those guys on those teams playing for jobs, playing for an opportunity to come back that next year. So they'll be ready to go.
2 balls and a strike. And as David Price mentioned in that interview that was recorded in Seattle, Rays in a position to determine their own destiny still in regard to the postseason possibilities.
Well, and they've got 11 out of the next 14 here at Tropicana Field.
Chopped to short. Escobar's throw to first. Retires Middlebrooks. 2 gone. Well, they still have one of the wild card spots, so somebody's got to come and get it, take it from them.
Yeah.
And you'd much rather be in that position than trying to catch somebody there.
Well, you hold your destiny in your hands. That's all the Rays want. Get that opportunity to go into the postseason, because as you well know, Dwayne, you get into the postseason and anything can happen. 1-game playoff or not.
Stephen Drew Jammed and pops it up. Price making the call in foul territory. 1, 2, 3. Go the Red Sox. That's 9 up and 9 down. No score. We go to the bottom of the third. We go to the bottom of the third down. A reminder, in the game tonight and all season long, Tires Plus donates $100 to the Pediatric Cancer Foundation for every Tampa Bay Rays home run televised on Sun Sports. Yunel Escobar leads off the bottom of the third. Escobar out for some early batting practice today. He'd been so good since the All-Star break and then ran into a little bit of a tailspin. He's trying to work his way out of that. Takes an off-speed pitch too high. '29-year-old Clay Buchholz. He turned 29 last month in August. 1-1. Escobar just 3 for 15 in his career against Buchholz, but he has 4 walks off him, and one of the hits was a home run. It's 1-2 now.
And Clay Buchholz, from what we saw him in April and even some of the pitches that we've seen in this ball game, he's not nearly been as sharp as he was in April, and you wouldn't expect him to be. But he looks to have taken that next step in the evolution of a pitcher. The problem with Clay is keeping him healthy all year long. I mean, 2 times in his career, he's had a number of starts go plus 20.
So Popper fouls Saltalamacchia after it near the screen. 1 out. Well, speaking of staying healthy,
hey,
if you enjoy exercising and staying fit, come to Fitness Night at Tropicana Field. It's Thursday, the 19th of September, when the Rays show their athleticism against the Rangers. Special ticket package includes lower level seat and a Rays Dry Fit t-shirt. For tickets, visit RaysBaseball.com/special events on September 19th.
That's a good looking Dry Fit right there too.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll wear that for the broadcast.
That would be cool.
Yes, it would, in more ways than one, Dwayne.
Yeah, because
it's really hip.
Yeah.
And it would be physically cool.
You know what would be great?
Awesome. What?
wear that shirt
with I know what
the
you're saying.
Archer.
I know.
Yeah, you got to get the stripes going.
Maybe just the whole shebang.
Yeah. There's a strike, and I'll wear that shirt with a blue blazer. Some sense of decorum.
Yeah. Well, someone needs to be classy up here,
but not two. 1-1 to count on David DeJesus. Pitch is high. 2-1. Buchholz facing the top of the order. Count goes to 2-2 on the Rays leadoff man.
Now, this is a big reason why Clay Buchholz has been so tough against lefties. Look at that cutter. David DeJesus, he's going out to hit that ball thinking it's out over the middle of the plate. And that late cutting action just takes it right underneath the swing.
Full count. One out into the third. On deck, Ben Zobrist. Boston continuing an 8-day, 7-game road trip. They won 3 out of 4 against the Yankees in New York to begin this trip. And yesterday, base hit. That had Buchholz ducking on a shot up the middle.
Well, full count. David DeJesus just looking to hit something hard and go right back up the middle, and he hit that one right over top of the rubber. That was a bullet.
So the Rays with a base runner, 1 out, bottom of the third for Zobrist. Ben made a bid for a base hit in the first, and the ball that started up the middle was deflected by Buchholz, and Pedroia made a nice recovery to throw out Zobrist at first base. Quick move over there. DeJesus back in. Again to first. Buchholz intent on keeping DeJesus close to the bag and maintaining his awareness of the Rays base runner.
We got a scoreless game in the third. The Rays may want to push the envelope here.
Bouncer foul.
DeJesus, you know, one of the guys that they can put in motion for a straight steal. Ben Zobrist, a guy that can handle the bat, so you could, you know, put a hit and run on.
Yeah, and one of the reasons they'd like to maybe move him, Buchholz is about 60% ground ball.
Yeah, well, yeah, you'd like to stay away from that ground ball double play, which the Rays have been all too familiar with the last 3 weeks or so. Too many of those.
DeJesus goes. Pitches a ball, and he is out at second base. Drew taking the throw, and the Rays lose the base runner on the caught stealing.
Now, the breaking ball here, so not the easiest pitch to deal with. And you see DeJesus off and running, but he's going to get thrown out by plenty. And this is a team that has surrendered 126 stolen bases. Saltalamacchia, a nice job here to Drew.
And there is a ground ball backhanded by Napoli. Buchholz covers, and the Rays get a base hit. Lose the runner on the caught stealing, leave no one. No score through 3. Just for men, mustache and beard. Toyota, let's go places. By the Tampa Bay Times, amazing stories only in the 2013 Pulitzer Prize winning Tampa Bay Times. And by Checkers, feast on. Rays home tonight against the Red Sox. Beginning of a 3-game series, 3 innings in, no score. David Price has retired the first 9 men to face him on 47 pitches, 3 strikeouts. You got Pedroia and Victorino to start the game, and he will face those 2 hitters to begin the 4th. Pedroia, Victorino, followed by David Ortiz. Strike 1 on the foul ball. This lineup tonight for Boston without Ellsbury, and then Pedroia going into the leadoff spot, Ortiz up to the 3rd spot. It's 111 different lineups for John Farrell this year. Into right toward the line. De Jesus, fair ball, makes the catch.
And you see that swing there by Pedroia. A lot of that has to do not only with the pitch that David made, but the early first time through the lineup. A lot of fastballs in on the righties. That keeps them from being so aggressive as they dive out over the plate. And you see it here. Pedroia going to go out and try to get this, but look at how he reaches, reaching for that baseball, not going out there with authority. We saw that against the Angels. A lot of guys diving out over the plate with authority, giving David Price problems because he never established that inside part of the plate early in the game, like that right there.
There's a strike to Victorino.
Outstanding breakout there. That's 72% strikes, and that's even better than what he's been since he's come back at the beginning of July.
Yeah, the average, if you can go 60, 63%, somewhere in that neighborhood, that's not bad.
Nope.
Well, since he's come back off the DL, he's been out of sight. 1 strike to count on Victorino.
You know what happens too, Dwayne, is once you get to that percentage, if you're not precise and you're not commanding the ball to the areas of the strike zone that you want, a guy throwing 70-75% strikes usually is getting hammered. It's too many strikes, too many balls out over the plate, and they get hurt with them. David Price has not, because the quality of the strikes have been so good.
Back to the hill, and Victorino's out number 2. Nice quick reaction play by David Price to glove that one using all of his height. Well, that's 11 in a row, and that's not easy to do against this lineup. On our Wendy's now, that's better. It's really the best. The Red Sox offense in September averaging 8.3 runs per game. Really?
Yeah, a little over a week. That's 66, 67 runs. That's ridiculous.
David Ortiz. Ortiz had a prolonged at bat his first time. Hits this one a long way, but well foul. Strike 1. And the realignment of the shift now. Longoria heads to the first base side, and Escobar takes care of the shortstop spot. One and one. Braves come into the game 6-10 against the Red Sox, and for the most part they have really held this offense down. Some of that was early, but Red Sox have only hit .211 off Rays pitching, averaging 3.9 runs a game. They're averaging 5.2 runs a game overall. Now it's 3-1 to Ortiz.
Well, the familiarity with this Boston lineup and the execution of the Rays pitching staff, that's the reason why. They've got great game plans coming in, but those only go as far as the pitcher being able to execute it, and as those numbers point out, more times than not, they're getting the job done.
And a strike call in the corner. Full count. We've seen Angel Hernandez continue to give a pitch in that area, including a couple off the plate. That up and away to a left-handed hitter from the lefty has been a strike. Ortiz fouls this one. So for the second straight time, Ortiz has worked the count full. Fouled off a number of pitches. Had a 10-pitch at bat in the first. This one now at 6. Fly ball to short left. Matt Joyce takes care of the fly ball. 1-2-3 again for the 4th consecutive inning. No score.
in a pitching matchup that is living up to the hype. Starting here with David Price, really did a great job of setting the tone early in the ball game with strong fastballs to both sides of the plate, picking up some strikeouts along the way. He's been dominant, and Clay Buchholz has not been as sharp as we saw him back in April. His first start coming off the disabled list since June, but he has gotten big outs when he's needed them, pitched very well, and obviously both of these guys, Clay looking to get his fourth inning out of the way, but nothing given up so far, just 3 hits, all for the Rays.
Evan Longoria leading off the Rays half of the fourth. Was after the first pitch, the off speed. One strike, the count. Into the dirt, 1-1. Rays had 2 hits in the second inning from Loney and Jennings. Base hit from DeJesus in the third. He was caught trying to steal. Put Evan down on the count. Foul ball makes it 1-2. Kansas City hitting in the top of the 5th inning at Cleveland. And that game is now tied 1-1. Guthrie and McAllister in that matchup. And strike 3 called on a curveball. Longoria out on strikes for the second time.
Well, Evan was struck out at his first time up on a changeup in. And now with 2 strikes, Buchholz goes with the curveball away. You can see Evan just locks up on it. I think he was looking for something hard right there, whether it be the fastball or the cutter. Just not able to completely pull the trigger with any kind of conviction. That leads to out number 1.
4 strikeouts now for Buchholz. Here's Matt Joyce. 1-0. Matt at .245 for the year. 2 for 28 on the road trip. Chops it foul. Coming into the game, 6 out of 21 with 3 walks against Buchholz. He's in there hitting cleanup for Joe Madden. Two balls and a strike. Yankees are batting in the 5th at Baltimore, leading the Orioles 1-0. Alex Rodriguez drove in the run with a 3rd inning double. It's Nova and Gonzalez in that Yankee-Oriole game at Camden Yards. Count even, 2-2 here on Matt Joyce. James Loney will be next. Full count. Rays 7.5 back of Boston. The biggest lead this year for John Farrell's club was 8.5. And ball 4. 1-out walk. It's the first walk of this game. Rays get a base runner. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for the Wednesday night showdown as your Tampa Bay Rays take on the Red Sox, sponsored by your Tampa Bay area Mazda dealers. And there will be questions, so tweet your questions at Sun Sports Rays, hashtag AskRays. Joyce back in at first. Loney 7th in the league in hitting. One and 0.
James Loney with a single the other way. His first time up. You get a guy out in front of him. And you can see that, you know, they've got a lot of room on that left side for Loney to work, and he's more than willing to hit that ball the other way. Middlebrooks stationed in between short and third, traditional spots.
Colts misses in.
Now you start to work that count in Loney's favor, 2-0.
.60 pitches for Buchholz. They were looking for 75 to 80 from him. Matt Joyce has walked. Rays have 3 hits. They've drawn a walk, but no runs yet. He's in at the knees, 2-1.
Good 2-0 fastball here by Buchholz. You see that crossing right at the kneecap on the outside corner. Not exactly what Loney's looking for. Might have been looking for the fastball, wanting the fastball, but when you put it in a spot like that, better off he didn't swing at it.
And now he has the count up to 3-1.
Well, now if you're James Loney, it's one pitch in one spot. You really pick what you're looking for and where you want it. If it finds its way into that zone, you take a healthy rip. If not, let her go.
And that's a strike at the knees. He thought it might have been low. Angel Hernandez says, nope, that's a strike.
Yeah, well, and it was. It's a good pitch by Buchholz here. And I'll tell you what, you know, Angel has a reputation of sometimes being inconsistent with the strike zone. And players know that going in, but you don't want to play that card a little bit too early. That's a good pitch right there. It's just not exactly what you're looking for in 3-1 count.
Over to first. Joyce back in with the right hand on the bag. Buchholz pitching for the first time since June the 8th.
And you got to figure here too, Matt Joyce put in motion, trust Loney to swing the bat, make contact, good bat control.
Runner goes, strike 3 called, and the throw down is there waiting. Joyce tagged out, so a call, third strike. Joyce caught stealing, and the Rays are finished in the 4th. We have no score.
Question brought to you by AT&T is as simple as it gets. Will the Rays make the postseason? Do you feel they will? Yes. Hashtag TB1? No. Hashtag TB2. Tweet your votes to @SunSportsRays. We have showed you where the Rays are in the standings with the Boston Red Sox. 2 weeks and 2 days ago, they were on top by percentage points. Now trailing in the AL East and in the wild card picture, a game and a half ahead of both Baltimore and Cleveland. There you see the updated standings at the start of the day. Will the Rays make the postseason? That's your AT&T Twitter poll question, guys.
Right now, a game and a half up on Baltimore and Cleveland for the second wild card spot. Texas occupying the top wild card position, 2.5 in front of the Rays. Here's Mike Napoli to open the fifth. First pitch from David Price is down. 1-0. Gomes next, and then Nava. Good cut and a foul ball by Napoli. Napoli with a couple career home runs at the expense of David Price. 8 out of 28 in his career against David. Price struck out Pedroia and Victorino to start the game. Has 3 strikeouts. And the 1-1. Napoli takes ball 2. Red Sox lead the majors in runs scored. The Red Sox and the Tigers, the only 2 teams to score over 700 runs so far this year. Red Sox have 757 and the Tigers 729.
You look at Boston's stats across the board offensively. How about even with their doubles? The most doubles in Major League Baseball and 61 more than anybody in the American League. 61. It's not even close. This team can flat out swing it, and that's why what David Price is doing tonight is so impressive.
Two popped up foul, headed for the stands. Well, there are a lot of these Boston hitters with 2 strikes really go to work the counts and try to pile up the pitches.
Well, they will grind you. They have that idea of they want to get into the bullpen as quickly as they can and really make you work as a starter.
Foul ball out of play. No walks tonight. They've walked 526 times this year. Tops in that department. In fact, we have in this game tonight the top 2 walking teams in the American League, the Red Sox and the Rays. How many walks so far? 1. 2-2. Shot back into straightaway center. Jennings to the track wall, and it's going to be over his head, off the wall, might have touched his glove. Into second goes Napoli. A leadoff 2-base hit for Boston.
Yeah, that was an odd angle taken there by Desmond Jennings as he went back to the wall to try to make a play on that. Ended up jumping straight back, and that ball gets over his head. I'll bet you this ball's hit 10 times. Desmond's going to catch it 9. Everything there just looked to be a little bit out of sync as you see Desmond go back, jump back into the wall. And once he makes contact with that wall, he's not able to fully extend his arm.
See Price just off the bat, he didn't like it. So it's a double for Napoli. And we've seen Jennings in center field 3 or 4 times over the past month not be as comfortable, as confident as he normally is. And that was an instance right there.
Now watch as he jumps back into the wall. He's going to make contact with the wall, and that's going to prevent that glove from being able to be fully extended. You know, if he doesn't jump back and into the wall and jumps more straight up, that glove probably is able to reach that. But he goes back, glove hits the wall, stops, ball hits just above it.
One strike on Gomes.
Tell you what,
swing, 0-2 now.
You know, that brings back old memories. We got beat by the New York Mets in Game 4 of a divisional playoff series back in gosh, I guess that would have been, I don't know, 1999 maybe. But it was the play where Todd Pratt in extra innings hit that ball to center field, and Steve Finley got back there, went to jump up, the body hit the wall, kept it from going any further, and that ball barely cleared the center field wall, and that was the end of the series. Same type of play.
0-2 to Gomes. Ooh, pretty close there. The pitch Price would have loved to have gotten.
Well, this is typically, too. You watch David Price pitch and his sequences. He goes fastball in, looking to close him out. Doesn't get the call. Okay. After that ball in, now comes with the backdoor cutter. See it all the time. See if he goes with it here.
It's fouled out of play. The right side.
Johnny Gomes, a good fastball hitter, and David gets away with one there, trying to double up in, which, by the way, is not a bad idea either. That ball leaked middle.
Daniel Nava is on deck. Price trying to pitch around the leadoff double. Red Sox picking up their first hit of the night, and with that, a scoring threat. Ground ball up the middle. Napoli heads to the plate. Jennings throw up the line, backed up by Price, and into second base goes Gomes. It's 1-0 Boston.
You wonder if Johnny Gomes was waiting for that backdoor cutter on that pitch, because he leaned right out over the plate and just popped that ball back up the middle. And the Red Sox not shy at all about running on Desmond Jennings. Here's that backdoor cutter. Look at that. Johnny goes and gets that ball that's off the plate. Look at him lean right out there and just play pepper with the middle of the field. And they got a chance. Look how close Desmond is. And Napoli was just rounding third. And that throw nowhere near. And that's about as shallow as a play you're going to make at center field.
So Gomes drives in the first run of the game. His 48th run batted in. Now a bunt by Nava. Molina with the throw down to Loney. Over to third goes Gomes. Red Sox sacrifice Gomes to third with one out.
Well, that's something that you don't often see from this lineup because it's so powerful. But that's what surprises you about John Farrell and this team. So many ways to beat you offensively. Talked about their power, doubles. They've got guys that can swing it big. They'll play small ball with the sacrifice. They run. This team,
third stolen bases.
111. They've only been thrown out 19 times with 111 stolen bases. In fact, they've stolen the last 27 in a row. So this team can beat you in a lot of different ways. Raise infield in.
Infield close with Saltalamacchia, the hitter. Pitch is outside. Longoria and Escobar up on the left side. Zobrist and Loney on the right side. 2 balls and a strike. You know, the base hit by Gomes goes back to what we were talking about earlier about him relishing game situations. We saw him make an adjustment there and go out after that pitch. A foul ball back by Saltalamacchia. We saw him move up in the batter's box at Fenway and hit one out.
Yep. Always looking to make adjustments, and you're right, moving up there. He knows that David Price likes the backdoor cutter with 2 strikes, and so David missed with the ball in, tried to come in again, left it middle. He got a good swing on, but then you saw him lean. That was a backdoor cutter. That was a ball. It was not coming back to the corner. It was off the plate. He went out and got it.
Saltalamacchia fouls a fastball, 2-2.
That right there is understanding what a pitcher likes to do, how he's attacked you in the past, and being ready for it.
Baltimore has taken a 4-1 lead on the Yankees. Chris Davis, a 2-run home run, his 49th. It's a 4-run 5th for Baltimore.
Right here, David needs to go for that strikeout. Going in.
Shot foul. 1 out, a man at third. A run already home. Close, but he missed. And the count is full. Fly ball, center field. This will send Jennings back. He's at the track, at the wall. He'll leap and make the catch on this one. But Gomes tags and scores to make it 2-0.
You know, here's the other thing. The play was made a fly ball to center field, but again, Desmond not going back in good sync and tempo on that play. That was a ball that just was a fly ball, did not need to jump for it if you run to the spot. You get a good shot of it here. It's a high fly ball. You see Desmond kind of drifting. I think he thinks the wall's closer than it is. Starts to count his steps and jump on a ball that's not even close. You think about that last play too, jumping into the wall. Maybe that was in the back of his mind.
So the Red Sox have scored 2. They've done it on a couple of hits, a sacrifice bunt, a sacrifice fly. 1 strike to count on Will Middlebrooks. Nothing in 2. Brooks grounded to short his first time. He's 5 of 10 with a home run off David Price. And he strikes him out. Fastball up. 2-run score. Napoli doubled. That was the precursor to this inning. Johnny Gomes singled him home. Saltalamacchia's fly ball got the other run home. Available in Spanish via SAP. Brought to you by Coventry Healthcare of Florida. Well, they'll have to go right back to work with Scott, Jennings, and Molina. Buckholz 64 pitches through 4. Want to know the count here on Luke Scott. Pitch wide. One. Red Sox playing without Jacoby Ellsbury. He's been diagnosed with a compression fracture in his right foot. John Farrell maintaining that he thinks Ellsbury will be back before the end of the regular season. Been a very big part of their success story.
Yeah, I mean, here we've been talking about how great this lineup is and how they've been swinging the bat so well lately. You forget, Ellsbury not even in it. What a dynamic player he is.
2-2 to Luke Scott.
And this is where Luke Scott and the rest of these Rays hitters cannot allow Angel Hernandez and what may or may not be an inconsistent strike zone, or at least it's perceived to be by the Rays, to affect them. You start thinking about, well, he just missed that pitch, and now you're not focused on the next one, and he comes back to get you with it.
And he takes ball 3. Your count is full. Yeah, you're right about that. You can complain all you want. Doesn't do any good.
No.
You've got to focus and go get the job done.
That's the thing. What it can do is affect your concentration on the next pitch. And we've seen that come back to bite the Rays 2 times tonight.
Not to mention that you might get a little crossways with the guy behind the plate.
Yeah, anything borderline is certainly not going to go your way.
3-2, and Luke swings through it. He's out on strikes. One gone here in the 5th. Late movement got Scott. Now Desmond Jennings. Desmond reached on an infield hit in the 2nd inning. Curveball. Strike 1. Nice opening pitch right there by Buckholz.
Probably his best one of the night. Coming down in what may be his last inning of the night.
Yeah, just over 70 now, 71.
Well, you're seeing some players down in that Boston bullpen. Some of the pitchers starting to loosen up just a little bit in anticipation of being called upon.
Molina will be next. 1 out, nobody on. Desmond lifts a popper into shallow center. Shane Victorino makes the catch. 2 outs here in the 5th. Rays have had runners on in 3 of the first 4 innings, but they've lost runners to caught stealings in the 3rd and 4th. They had Loney at 2nd and Jennings at 1st with 2 outs in the 2nd inning when Molina went to 3-2 and then struck out. Now Molina with the bases empty and 2 outs in the 5th. Back into center off a fastball. Routine for Victorino, and it's a quick 1-2-3 inning for Clay Buckholz. On to inning 6, 2-0 Boston.
5 years ago yesterday at Fenway Park when the Rays were playing the Boston Red Sox. Dan Johnson, who was originally supposed to be in the lineup against the Sox that day, did not arrive until game time. Joe said, just wait, we'll need you for a pinch hit. And sure, he did indeed need him for this pinch hit home run against Jonathan Papelbon. At the time, it tied the game, and the Rays would take the lead and go on to win. Had the Red Sox won that game, they would have taken the lead in the AL East, which the Rays held most of 2008. So Dan Johnson 5 years ago yesterday, and also don't forget about that September 28th home run that knocked the Red Sox out of the playoffs essentially on game 162 here at Tropicana Field down to their final strike. Red Sox Nation not a big fan of Dan Johnson, guys.
Well, we'll see what happens in the final 20 games. Halfway through this one, a little over halfway. The Rays 19 plus games, and this one in the balance, a 2-run deficit. Stephen Drew takes the first pitch. That's a strike. 6th inning underway. Pedroia next, and then Victorino. It's 1-1. Breslow loosening in the bullpen. Foul. We have Buchholz at 74 pitches and 5 innings. The Rays had just 3 hits off him and a walk. And only one man reached second base. And Drew is caught looking. That's strikeout number 5.
Great start here by David. Keep that leadoff man off base. Good fastball right there on the outside corner for out number 1. And you're going to get your opportunity off the Boston bullpen. Looks like that may be the end of the road for Buchholz. The bullpen up and going full bore.
Pedroia, first pitch, strike 1. Pedroia has struck out. Fly ball to right in the 4th. One and one. Pedroia signing an 8-year contract. The Boston Red Sox. It's 2-1, so that would keep him with them through the 2021 season. He wanted to stay with his club. If he completes that contract, that would be 16 years in the big leagues with Boston. 2-2, not out of play.
He has meant so much to this franchise. Really, you would talk about the grit of Johnny Gomes. It's the same kind of player Pedroia is, as an everyday guy.
Yep.
Small in stature, but certainly not in his game. He was a 3-hole hitter for most of the year here for Boston.
Yep. And his size a motivating factor for him.
Sure.
A lot of people didn't think he could play in the big leagues. Repeat that statement and more. Out on strikes, Pedroia after the fastball. Right now, let's go to Fox Sports 1 for a game break. Well, thank you very much. Here we have a 2-0 game. We're in the top half of the 6th. Shane Victorino gets his back foot out of the way of that cutter. Victorino has struck out and has gone out pitcher first, hit the ball sharply. In the 4th inning, Price with a quick reaction made the grab and tossed him out. Look out, the bat heads into the stands on a swing and a miss by Victorino. And it's 1-1. All's well that ends well. The 1-1 too high. 2-1.
I think the guy down there in the striped shirt was asking for a bat, so at least be a fair fight.
Well, he was the one who did take the battering.
He did.
And then the carom helped the guy just behind him. Two-two. Strikeouts here in the 6th. A 2-2 count on Victorino. Strike 3 call. Fastball gets him looking. Price strikes out the side. Bottom half of inning 6th coming up. Boston 2 and the Rays nothing. Boston Red Sox and the Rays, first game of this series. Clay Buchholz has been very good, and 5 innings will be his limit.
Well, I think if you ask John Farrell, this is exactly what he was looking for. Very similar to the game plan of Joe Madden in a couple of starts last week. Give me 5 and the lead, and that's exactly what Buchholz has done. 3 hits, no earned runs, just the 1 walk. He struck out 6, and really, he seemed to get stronger as the game moved on, but he's going to be shut down, and the Rays can be very thankful for that. You'd rather be in that Boston bullpen now than having to face Buchholz the way that he threw the ball.
74 pitches for Buchholz. The Rays come into the bottom of the 6th inning facing the left-hander Craig Breslow, and they're down 2-0. Yunel Escobar leading off, and the pitch is a ball away.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think that last half inning by David Price, huge. Previous inning, Boston scores 2. They take the lead. Rays aren't able to do anything in the bottom half, but then David comes out and strikes out all 3 hitters that he faces. That can really spark a team. And offensively, now you're going up against the bullpen.
2-0, Breslow missing on the first couple pitches. And there's ball 3. Breslow last work 3 days ago in the series against the Yankees in New York. In a 2/3 of an inning appearance. Escobar takes that one for a strike. So the Rays trying to get something going. They've had a runner in scoring position in only the 2nd inning tonight. And that came with 2 outs on an infield hit by Jennings, moving Loney to 2nd. And there's ball 4. So Escobar is aboard to lead it off. Kickoff Oktoberfest with the Rays on September 20th. Purchase a ticket to this special event, receive a discounted seat in the press level and a Rays Oktoberfest beer stein. Sausage and sauerkraut sandwiches and German beer will be available for purchase. For tickets and more information, visit RaysBaseball.com/special events. Boy, that Rays Oktoberfest beer stein sounds very appealing.
Yeah, it does. Right now, actually.
Well, here comes Will Myers with the left-hander Breslow in the game. Myers will hit for DeJesus.
Look, if this inning have started any better for the Rays, a walk to the 9-hole hitter and Yunel Escobar. And now you get Will Myers to the plate here. Got some tough hitters coming in after him.
So let's see if the Rays can put something together. Zobrist will follow Myers. And any deeper, Longoria. There's a miss by Breslow. He's missed on 5 of his first 6 pitches. The Rays would like to see him groove one now. And a foul ball back by Myers. Got a 90-mile-per-hour fastball. 1-1. Will hit .333 on the road trip. 11 out of 13. And 6 of those hits for extra bases. A couple of home runs and 4 doubles. He swings through it. 1-2. A little late movement.
Working down and away and then throwing that cutter. This comes up and in just a little bit, and Will Myers a little bit long in that swing. That ball's able to beat him.
It's in. 2-2. Only one scoring opportunity for the Rays. That was with 2 men on and 2 men out in the second. Myers fouls it back. Fastball, a little something extra on that one from Breslow.
Well, if you're going to go to the same side of the plate against Will Myers, 3 straight pitches, yeah, a little sense of urgency there. And if it's going to be a fastball, you want to make sure that you let it rip with everything you got.
Rays putting the leadoff man on base for the first time tonight with this leadoff walk in the 6th. 2-2 to Myers. Into the dirt, blocked by Santalamacchia. So full count. Pitch made, fouled away, a fastball out of play. Forcing another 3-2 pitch. The Will Myers hot zones.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, that's been his MO. You leave a pitch up in the zone, and you run a risk. You keep it down and away. That 071 sliders down and in from lefties.
3-2 again. And a chopper to short. Drew charges out at second. Safe at first. So Myers reaches on a fielder's choice with Escobar. The first out of the inning forced at second base.
No chance to turn two there. Myers runs too well. That ball not hit hard enough.
Just a 2-run game. Shoulders turning around, the bat right-handed. Been 2 out of 7 against Breslow. Takes ball 1. Chopper, Pedroia, he got the tag, throw to first, double play. Pedroia tagged Myers on the way by and throws out Zobrist. Rays put the leadoff man on, but that goes away in a hurry. We're through 6 innings tonight. 2-0 Boston. Your local Gulf Coast Honda dealers. Visit your Honda dealer for great lease and finance deals on fuel-efficient Hondas. By Tampa Bay Radiation Oncology. When cancer strikes, strike back with CyberKnife. Available at Tampa Bay Radiation Oncology. And Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2 in theaters September 27th. On to the 7th inning we go. David Ortiz to face David Price. 7 strikeouts tonight by Price. And the first pitch is a strike to Ortiz. 4 of the 7 have come from the first 2 men in the lineup for Boston. Price twice has struck out Pedroia, twice has struck out Victorino. Ground ball. Loney will make the play unassisted. 1 out.
Well, this is all you can hope for. David Price just continuing to put his head down, make pitches, get outs, keep this at a 2-run deficit, and hope that his offense can get something started. And I'm going to tell you what, it seems over the past couple of weeks or so, we've been saying that far too often.
Yeah, we have been saying that far too often. There's no question about
I'm
that.
Pull the string on my chest, just blurt it out again and again and again.
There's Napoli. First pitch is strike.
Unfortunately, that's been the narrative, and that's the only thing that you can do at this point if you're David Price.
Yeah, you go out, pitch well, and hope that the offense can find the productive mode that it has been in for most of the year, but recently it has reverted back to, well, if not exactly what it was the first 10 days or 2 weeks of the season when they really struggled. Well, they got hot, and then from that point forward, they had a great month of May, a very productive May, and continued that on, but hitting with men in scoring position has been an issue. The Rays have gotten a lot of base runners. You look at their on-base percentage, it's still 3rd in the league, 3rd in on-base percentage.
Hey, listen to this, Dwayne. On that last road trip, 10 games, the Rays had 96 at-bats with runners in scoring position. That's almost 10 at-bats a game with runners in scoring position, and they hit, well, 177 and scored 29 runs. There is your issue. Like you said, the opportunities have been there. Base runners have been there. Opportunities with runners at second and third, runner at third, 10 times a game. And not getting it done. And that has been a big part of the Rays' struggles.
Upstairs, 1 ball, 2 strikes. And what happens, we've seen little parts of the Rays game falter from time to time. Some defensive lapses here and there. A couple of pitching performances, not what you would want. Strike 3 call, Napoli out number 2. And he's not happy. But if you're scoring runs, all of those runs cover that. And so it's not as glaring. Here's your opportunity to take home everyone's favorite Sea Dog, Raymond. Catch the Rays when they take on the rival Orioles Sunday, September 22nd, when kids 14 and under get to take home a Raymond Bobble Belly presented by Chevrolet while supplies last. For tickets, visit RaysBaseball.com.
Hey, who knew that Raymond was a sea dog?
That's a recent discovery, apparently. No one really knew what was going on there with him for a long time.
I'll tell you what, I'd rather be a sea dog than a sea hag.
Well, absolutely.
We've seen a few of those.
Unsettling.
Kind of look like that.
2-0 the count. Change up. And Gomes up in the count. Pitch, check swing, roller. Escobar from short on the overloaded left side of the infield. Gomes out. 1-2-3 go the Red Sox. It's 2-0 Boston. Bottom of the 7th. Rays fans, Fox Sun Sports has an exclusive ticket offer just for you. It'll be announced on Thursday at the start of the Rays versus Red Sox game. You don't want to miss out, so make sure you tune in to Sun Sports this Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Rays Live, the pregame, begins our coverage Thursday. Something special going on there. Evan Longoria takes a strike from the left-hander Craig Breslow. Matt Joyce next, and then James Loney. Longoria, who twice has gone out on strikes, swinging on a changeup in the first and caught looking on a curveball in the fourth, is behind Breslow 0-2. Is out with a right-hander now up in the bullpen. Fastball fouled back. Down and in. It's a ball, 2 strikes. Getting late here in the 7th. The Rays have been shut out on just 3 hits and a couple walks so far. Ground ball left side. Gloved by Drew, and his throw to first in time. 1 out in the top of the 7th inning.
Let's see.
Take a look at our Toyota trend beginning back on the 24th of August. You see where the Rays were actually, by virtue of percentage points, ahead of Boston. But since then, since the 24th of August, Boston has commandeered the lead in a big way while the Rays have struggled. The Rays going 4-11 and dropping 7.5 back.
That 4-11 record is the worst in the big leagues.
Matt Joyce takes a pitch down, 1-0.
Yeah, how about that? Rays 4-11, worst in the big leagues. Boston goes 11-3, the best in Major League Baseball.
Some of these other teams have gotten into the race with the same little run. Kansas City, which by the way has taken a 4-1 lead in Cleveland. Indians batting in the bottom of the 7th. Kansas City had an 11-5 run. Trying to make their season interesting. 3-0 now to Joyce. The other clubs that are chasing the Rays have essentially been right at or around 500. Yankees 8-7, Baltimore 8-7, Cleveland 7-7. And Texas a couple of games under 500. The Rays still within reach of Texas. There's a strike, 3-1.
Now they'll get their shot. Texas is going to come here to Tropicana Field in a week, be here for 4 days.
That's a strike. Joyce thought he had drawn the walk.
Don't think anything in tonight's game. Don't assume anything in tonight's game.
And there's ball 4. That sends Joyce to first. Second walk issued by Breslow since he's been in the game in relief of Clay Buchholz. Baltimore at home leading the Yankees in the bottom of the 7th. The Orioles 4, New York 3. Davis hit a home run early. Soriano and Reynolds also have home runs in that game. It's 31 for Alfonso Soriano. Loney with a little looper left side, but Drew angles out from short. Makes the catch. 2 gone. Actually made the throw back toward Napoli, but Joyce in there in plenty of time. Nice quick read by Drew, and that ball high enough for him to get out there and make the catch. Well, Luke Scott is due. Delmon Young emerges from the dugout. He'll pinch hit for Luke. Luke had gone 0 for 2, a couple strikeouts tonight. So Delmon's numbers there with a home run. Delmon's home run came in Seattle. Breslow threads the needle on the outside corner. Strike 1. Delmon's home run was the hardest hit that we've seen this year. We read the velocity off the bat. It was over 105 miles per hour.
He does have some big-time juice. For the Rays, Joe Madden, they'd love to see him run into one here.
One away. 2 balls and a strike. Breslow actually has been a little better against lefties than righties this year. Lefties have hit him at 265 and right-handed hitters 217. The cut, the foul ball back into the screen on the fastball. Runs the count full.
Well, Delmon had a nice pass at that 91-mile-an-hour fastball. Just fouling it off and hoping for another one. 2 outs, full count. Matt Joyce over at first base will be off and running. Taking a selfie.
3-2. Ground ball third. Middlebrooks with the throw to first. Young is out number 3. The Rays are finished in the 7th. A walk and a man left. 2-0 Boston. for Boston. No runs, 3 hits for the Rays. Buchholz and Price the starting pitching. Buchholz worked 5. Price set to begin the 8th inning. He'll face Daniel Nava, who is 0 for 1 with a walk. The pitch is a strike, actually 0 for 1 with a sacrifice, I should say. Will Myers in the game in right. Nava, base hit through the hole. And a leadoff single for Boston. So with a man on, nobody out, let's go to Fox Sports 1 studio for this game break. Thanks for the update. Baltimore and Cleveland right behind the Rays in the wild card race. Game and a half back, so the Yankees taking the lead in Baltimore. Kansas City had taken the lead on the Indians. That's now a 5-3 game in the bottom of the 7th in Cleveland, with Kansas City leading. Santalamacchia fouls it right back into the screen for a strike. Well, it can be fun for a lot to watch the scoreboard. And Joe Madden admitted the other night that he watches the scoreboard from time to time, but his mantra is to stay focused on the task at hand. Santalamacchia lifts a high fly ball to center. Jennings there to make the catch. 1 out. Nava back to first. And that's really what the Rays are trying to do. Just take care of the game before them.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Like in tonight's case, that's great. Everybody would know what else is going on. But if you don't win, none of it really matters.
Yep.
And so you've got to handle your own business. I mean, scoreboard watching, you know, guys that tell you that they don't do it, I don't know if I buy that.
I think everybody does to a point.
Yeah, and that's why it's refreshing to hear Joe say, you know what, yeah, I take a peek every now and then. You know, it's better than the guy who's like, no, never, and I'm not even sure who's in our division at this point. You know, don't give me that garbage.
Yeah. Well, if you're not sure who you're in your division, you're not prepping properly.
No.
I mean,
no, you're not.
So, yeah, you're well aware of that, but the idea is to focus, as the Rays so often stress, on the process. Just going through what you have in front of you and making sure you do it well.
Yeah, and if the Rays take care of their business, they'll be exactly where they would like to be in October. That is active and playing baseball. If not, then there you go.
In the dirt, skipping away from Molina. Down the second goes Nava. Off speed pitch. And on the wild pitch, now a man in scoring position.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Here's a pitch, change up by David Price down in the dirt, and Molina down to block it as that ball caroms away. A nice read by Nava. And he hustles down to second base.
One and one to count to Middlebrooks. Baseball by him. Middlebrooks sharing the player of the week honors with his teammate Mike Napoli, and that after being optioned to AAA the 3rd week in June.
He went down to Pawtucket with a batting average of 192. He's supposed to be the everyday third baseman down there for a little less than 2 months, but since he's come back up, he has been raking. 368 average, including that co-player of the week last week.
Foul out of play. So his overall average back up in the mid 240s to start this game. He hit 10 home runs at Pawtucket. Red Sox sent him down there and did not seem to have a sense of urgency to bring him back until they were sure that the time was right. It sounds like the Rays.
Well, and also when you got a guy like Middlebrooks who is supposed to be in the big leagues from the beginning of the year for the rest of his career, if you do make that determination that you need to option him down, then you got to make doggone sure when you bring him back up that's probably going to be the last time. You do not want to have a guy like Middlebrooks on a yo-yo if you can help it.
That's part of the concern the Rays had with Will Myers. They wanted him to go down and continue his development as an outfielder, as a base runner.
And you got to remember with Will, he was not part of the Rays organization. He traded in the offseason. So while they knew a lot about him, they wanted to see him with their own eyes, day to day, his preparation, things that you can't see when you're scouting a guy. You want to see the day-to-day inner workings. Okay, now he's ready. Here he is.
Another foul ball. It's still 1-2.
There's a lot that goes into this game that is never seen by scouts, fans, anybody. I mean, especially the minor leagues, the early work, the dedication to your craft. You're taking bus rides and getting in late, but still putting the work in. Early mornings. Just a lot that goes into it. So you want to get a guy in your organization and here's a clean slate. You want to see what this kid's all about before you make any determinations.
Price's 1-2 pitch to Middlebrooks. And he fouls this one. Boy, the Red Sox can do this to a pitcher. Get to 2 strikes and foul pitches away. Price up to 118 pitches right now. He had 117 against Seattle on the 14th of August. Earlier in the year had 119 in a win against the White Sox in Chicago at the end of April. .119 is season's high. 1-2, high foul, and that's going to slice out of play. His career high came in May of 2012 against Atlanta. He made 123 pitches. When Middlebrooks returns to the plate, Price makes this next pitch. It will be number 120. One on with one out. Jamie Wright is up in the Rays bullpen. An extended at bat for Middlebrooks with the count of 1-2. And another foul ball. So he's on the verge of running this into a 10-pitch at bat.
David Price, even 120 pitches in, does not look like he's missing that much. We talked about the time that he missed, going to be fresh down the stretch, and he's certainly showing that in his stuff tonight, in spite of the season high pitch mark.
Tenth pitch of this at bat is fouled into the screen. Still at 1 ball, 2 strikes. Thomas singled, was wild pitch to second. 1 out. Skipping by Molina. Wild pitch, number 2 of the inning. Over to third goes Nava.
And this one was not even close. Very tough on Molina. This was an off speed, not even sure what it was, because out of the hand it was headed straight to the ground. It would have been a breaking ball, and you see Molina just not going to get anywhere near it. And that's going to force the Rays. You can see the feet of Yunel Escobar right there to bring the infield in.
And that's what this ability to extend this at bat has done. This next pitch will equal Price's career high. And a ground ball to the drawn-in infield at short. Escobar holds the runner and throws out Middlebrooks. So after 9 foul balls and 2 wild pitches in that at bat, a ground ball to short takes care of Middlebrooks. So 2 outs with Nava at third, and Jim Hickey strides to the mound.
And right there, you get him reaching. And that was a nice pitch by David. Middlebrooks out in front, rolls that over. Could not have worked out any better. And David Price is going to have an opportunity to get out of this inning himself in spite of that number of pitches. And that strike and ball ratio, just tremendous.
A 12-pitch at bat to Middlebrooks to get Price to his career high in pitches made in a game. He'll face Stephen Drew. That's a first pitch strike. Two outs into the 8th. Price has given up only 3 hits, 2 in the 5th, and the leadoff single to Nava in the 8th. Quickly 2 strikes. Down and away, a fastball. 8 strikeouts tonight for Price. 4 looking and 4 swinging. And they've all been on fastballs. Struck him out. He got him on a fastball for strikeout number 9. 94 on that fastball. He pitches around the leadoff base hit. Still 2-0 Boston. 2014 ticket plans. Establish seniority today and be in line for priority upgrades and exclusive benefits, including the opportunity to purchase 2013 postseason ticket packages. Call 888-FAN-RAYS or visit RaysBaseball.com. Next year's schedule released today. The 2014 schedule is out. The Rays have this one and 19 important games to be played here in the 2013 season. Junichi Tazawa makes his 65th appearance.
Well, good numbers for Tazawa. 67 strikeouts, 62 2/3, earned run average of 287.
And the 11 walks, ridiculous, in just under 63 innings. He faces Desmond Jennings, shortened on the bat. Pitch is a strike. Desmond with 4 bunt hits this year. He leads the club in that department. Peralta busy in the bullpen. It's low. It's 1-1. Jennings 1 of 6 against Tazawa. 2 strikeouts in the mix. Jose Molina on deck. And Yunel Escobar. Cut and miss. Now we go to 2-2. That one got up there in a hurry.
Yeah, it did. And just a rare back behind in the count fastball. Sense of urgency here by Tazawa, and he's able to get this up above the swing of Desmond Jennings by a good margin. I mean, you saw a good gap there between the baseball and the bat. I would not be surprised to see Tazawa go right back to that, although he loves the split finger. He's ahead in the count. You see, I think that's what they're going with right there. Saltamacchia telling him he wants it down.
And just wide. So the count is full.
That was a very close pitch there by Tazawa. See how close it was. Just off. Boy, you'd love to get some speed aboard if you're the Rays. Leadoff man on. Good speed in Jennings. Here you go.
He's worked the count all the way to 3-2. Some nice action on that fastball at 96.
Yeah, and that swing by Desmond Jennings, this is not your normal Desmond swing. It's kind of an awkward feel, trying to feel for that baseball out there. Boy, that ball beat him too. You wonder if he was sitting and kind of waiting for that split finger with 2 strikes. He never got it. Heater after heater, and finally got it.
Jose Molina in the box. And then a first pitch strike. More hard stuff. That one at 95. Down in the count. One out, bases empty. Pitch is outside.
That was close. That was close. See how close it was. It could have gone either way.
Yes, it could. So another opportunity for Molina after taking that very close pitch. Shot it again at 95 and missed.
Yeah, and that one looked a little bit more clear and concise of being off the plate. Close, but not as close as the last one.
One out, bases empty. Back. Well, the Rays have struggled with runners in scoring position recently. They've struggled to get a man into scoring position tonight. Maloney back in the second inning, the only one to this point. More on Rays Live, pregame show presented by your Gulf Coast Honda dealer. It's a Web Wednesday. Schedule breakdown of playoff contenders and an interview with Alex Cobb. 2-2. And Molina. Red Sox want the appeal. As Barksdale says he held up.
Well, no question. Not even close on that. Best shot they had was the 0-2 fastball. And now all the way out full.
Three-two. And pop to the right side. Pedroia. Two gone. So the bases remain empty now with two away. Yunel Escobar will hit. Escobar walked in the sixth. One of two walks given up by Breslow. Buchholz walked one and struck out 6 in 5 innings. Escobar fouled out to the catcher Santalamacchia in his only official at bat before drawing the 6th inning walk. A shot deep into left center field. Well tagged, and it's off the wall. Ricocheting back to Victorino. Escobar put a charge into that one off the wall near the deepest part of this park for his 24th double. And for Escobar, that's going to snap it 0 for 18.
Yeah, well, good for Yunel Escobar and good for the Rays. Finally, some life here offensively, albeit with 2 outs in the inning. He got into this delivery by Tazawa, a little middle of the plate fastball. I think Escobar thinks that off the bat he got it. Yeah, that's a home run trot on a ball that's not a home run, and that.
Back into the angle area. So the Rays, for the second time tonight, have a man in scoring position. Metro PCS called to the bullpen coming up. Tazawa departs after 2/3 of an inning, allowing the double. Koji Uehara makes his 65th appearance. This guy's been almost perfect.
I mean, look at the numbers. 89 punch out, 64 1/3, a 132 average, and he's retired the last 27 hitters that he's faced.
He faces Will Myers right here and throws him a strike.
What's amazing about Uehara is the fact that he can run up those kind of strikeout numbers and top out at 90, 91. But he's got a great idea of the strike zone, pitching up with that fastball, good split, a master of deception.
Oh, a strike call, and Myers didn't like that one.
Now, that was that split finger that stayed up in the zone, more like a straight change. You see, Fox Tracks says it's a strike. Will Myers not a big fan, but that has been the area that Angel Hernandez has been calling all night long.
And a popper off to the right. Napoli into foul territory, makes the catch. The Rays are out in the 8th. They get a double, leave a man. We go to the 9th, 2-0 Boston.
Time now to check in on our AT&T Twitter poll question of the night. It's as easy as it comes, and that is simply, do you think the Rays make the playoffs? Hashtag TB1 yes, hashtag TB2 no. Tweet your votes to @SunSportsRays. We'll have the results in the Rays Live postgame show presented by Checkers. Also coming up, we'll talk about this Clay Buchholz and David Price pitcher's duel. Joe Madden with his press conference. Kelly Nash gathering interviews from the clubhouse. I'll be hosting with Orestes Estrada and Dwayne Stats and Brian Anderson with their thoughts on this one, guys.
All right, thank you, Todd. Joel Peralta, the new pitcher for the Rays. Price for 8, and now Peralta on for the 70th time this year.
Peralta has been the 8th inning mainstay for Joe Madden all season long. Called a pound once again.
He'll face the top of the order. Here's Pedroia, Dustin Pedroia. First pitch strike. 18,605 here tonight. David Price gone after 8 innings of 2-run, 3-hit baseball. Did not walk anybody. Struck out 9, and a career high 127 pitches. Line drive, base hit past Escobar. Pedroia is aboard.
Well, Pedroia kept quiet all night by David Price. He's able to elude Yunel Escobar, get that ball out into left center field, and get Boston started off, the leadoff man aboard here in the 9th.
Shane Victorino. There's a strike. For 5 with a couple strikeouts against Peralta. The catch. 1 out. Peralta trying to hold the Red Sox and facing some dangerous hitters. Speaking of danger, David Ortiz stepping in. Ortiz was lined out, flied out, and grounded out. Foul ball, strike 1. 127 pitches by David Price tonight. His career high. And the most pitches by a Rays pitcher since Victor Zambrano made 128 pitches on the 8th of July in 2004.
Well, he stayed strong too for the 127. He did not lose a thing from beginning to end.
Cut 0-2. Yeah, 9 strikeouts, no walks. Gave up just the 2 runs on 3 hits.
And even that, the first run that he gave up was that double by Napoli to center, who'd come around to score. But like I said, I think 9 times out of 10, Desmond Jennings makes that play.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
So he certainly pitched well enough to keep Boston off the board for his duration.
Well, how about this? We mentioned the Rays in only 2 innings had placed men in scoring position. The Red Sox have had men in scoring position in only 2 innings. Fly ball to right. Myers makes the catch on this one. 2 gone. Pedroia is still at first. Red Sox got the Napoli double to open the 5th inning that you referenced, and then Gomes singled him home. Sacrifice and then a sacrifice fly. Got the 2nd run home, and that's it.
Well, and like I said, you have the ball off the wall in center field, and then Gomes, he did a nice job of going out and getting a backdoor cutter that was off the plate, but he was then able to move up to second base because of the throw home by Jennings that was a little bit offline, did not get cut. Napoli scores, Gomes moved to second. That's what set up the opportunity for a sacrifice and then try to get something to the outfield.
Yep, and if you play that inning out, and if Napoli's ball to center's caught, they probably don't score.
No.
Napoli takes this one outside, 1-0.
And by no means are we saying, Desmond should have made that play. It was an easy play. It wasn't at all. But we've seen him make tougher plays. And I think if you give him that same ball, another shot at it, he gobbles it up.
I think you're right. Shift on for Napoli. It's 2-0. Rays in the bottom of the 9th. We'll have Zobrist to lead it off, then Longoria and Joyce do. So Peralta trying to get this final out. Leave a man on to get the Rays in the bat in the bottom of the 9th. Runner takes off, pitches a wall, and the throw's not in time. Pedroia steals his 17th base of the year.
Pedroia just starting to lean there at the end, trying to get into scoring position here with 2 outs, and he's able to do just that. Off-speed delivery from Molina to deal with, and he's trying to come out, get in there as quick as he can, but no shot to get Pedroia.
It's 3-0 to Napoli. And it's down as he takes ball 4. It's walk number 1 allowed by Rays pitching tonight. We have the 2 walkingest teams in the American League. And the Rays have drawn just 3 walks, and the Red Sox just their first. We'll look at the pitching matchup for tomorrow night's game, brought to you by Chevron. Ryan Dempster, 8 and 9 on the hill for Boston, and Alex Cobb is after win number 9 tomorrow, 8 and 3 to do the pitching for the Rays. We'll be with you at 6:30 on Sun Sports. Johnny Gomes, who singled in the run in the 5th. Swings through this one, strike 1.
Boy, he had visions of really trying to take that ball out of here. That was a hanging breaking ball.
You look at those numbers against Peralta.
Yep. Well, and look at this, what he gets to. Oh, boy. Fortunate.
Now 1-1. .240 average overall for Gomes, but a lot better with men in scoring position. That's a strike on the split he tried to hold.
He did go.
Two on, 2 out. Napoli first, Pedroia at second. 1-2 the count to Gomes. Peralta makes the pitch. Fly ball lifted into center. Jennings makes the catch. 2 men left in the 9th inning. Bottom of the 9th coming. Zobrist, Longoria, and Joyce do. Rays down by 2. Boston scored both runs in the 5th. Napoli's double, base hit by Gomes. Sacrifice bunt, the sacrifice fly by Saltalamacchia got the 2nd run home. Rays have had men in scoring position in 2 innings, Boston in 3. And here's Ben Zobrist to open the bottom of the 9th, looking for his first hit. 3 ground ball outs, including a double play ground ball in the 6th. And he faces Koji Uehara. That's a foul ball to call. Barksdale making it back at first. Boy, that was close.
Yeah.
Really close.
Well, that ball was rifled up that right side, and that looked awfully close. There wasn't much of a reaction from Ben Zobrist. Well, Nick Cole was right. That's probably why you saw no reaction.
Tapper foul, 0-2. And Barksdale had the best view in the house.
We saw the Rays get burned by one of those in Seattle. Ball up the 3rd base line. Umpire was screened out. Definitely hit right on the line and was ruled foul.
There's a ground ball right side. Pedroia down there to make the pickup. 1 gone.
I tell you what, Uehara out there just jerks you around with his stuff. Just up and down and in and out. Get you out in front, roll over the pitch. Really has a great idea of what he's doing out there and is so effective without being overpowering. Just a great idea of how to pitch.
Well, that's 29 in a row.
Yeah. Retired
by Uehara.
Oh, we saw that opponent's average coming into play or coming into his appearance here. 132. Incredible.
Evan Longoria. Pitch to him is a strike. Evan 3 for 17 off Uehara with a home run. Fouls it back, and Matt Joyce, who's on deck, also has a career home run off the Boston right-hander.
Well, no time like the present if you want to go ahead and duplicate that. Down to 2 outs remaining.
Well, back-to-back jacks.
I like it, Wayne.
2 strikes the count. And Longoria is out number 2 on that split. Boy, it's the 3rd time he struck out, and that pitch is good luck with this one.
Yeah, I mean 0-2, and he just puts it right where he wants it. Middle of the plate. Evans got to protect. And as he makes the decision to swing, well before that ball bottoms out, he's not able to reach it.
So the Rays 1 out away from being shut out. And here's Matt. He's 2 for 6 and a home run lifetime against Uehara. The strike, says Angel Hernandez. Pitch up, and it's fouled back. Fastball at 89. Rays on the verge of being shut out for the 8th time this year. 1-2. After all of the off days for the Rays, whether they're scheduled off days, rainouts, the All-Star break, they're 5-11 after all of that. 2-10 after scheduled off days, but if you put them all together, it's 5-11. And Joyce is out on strikes. This ball game is over. 1-2-3. Go the Rays in the bottom of the 9th. And a combination 4-hit shutout for Boston over the Rays, 2-0. 2-4-0 for Boston, 0-4-0 for the Rays. The Rays leave 4 and Boston strands 3. And the Red Sox go 8.5 up on the Rays. And right now, the Rays are 1 game up on Cleveland and a game and a half up on Baltimore. And 2 up on New York, with Kansas City still present in the wild card race. The Yankees have just won their game over Baltimore. 2-0 here. We'll be right back with the totals in a moment.